Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Scott Lawson, certified business coach with ActionCOACH of Coastal Bend in South Texas. I'll be your host today. I'm very excited to have our special guest, Luis Frias, on our show. Luis is the founder of Caltex Capital Group, is also a licensed agent with Keller Williams, and heavily involved in all things real estate. Today, we're going to talk to Luis about his business, his journey to business ownership, some challenges, some successes. We'll have him share what it's really like to own and operate a business as an entrepreneur. If you enjoy our channel, be sure to like and subscribe so you can get notifications when we publish new content. Well, Luis, welcome to the show.
Hey, Scott, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, we are thrilled to have you. This is going to be a fun conversation. I know it'll be informative to our audience of business owners, and hopefully it'll be informative to your audience as well. So let's just kick things right off. I want to talk to you about your business, but I'm going to start off asking about you. How did your journey start? Just tell us about Luis.
Yes, sir. So my name is Luis Frias, based out of San Antonio, Texas. My journey in real estate began in 2015 when I became a licensed agent. I still have my license with Keller Williams Realty. I initially focused in residential sales, primarily just focusing on the buy side as well as helping sellers sell their property. Started in 2015, did that about to 2017. In 2017, that's when I transitioned into commercial real estate. So I joined KW Commercial with a primary specialized focus of multifamily investment sales. So I did that for about up to 2019, doing several deals here in the Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas market. And while brokering these deals, I quickly realized that the real wealth wasn't just in selling the properties themselves. And, a great thing to help, as far as property owners with their needs in buying and selling. That essentially for the real wealth, for Luis to get his turn, it wouldn't necessarily just be brokering the properties. It would actually be becoming an owner and operator, investing in these properties to own them. By 2019, I made the leap into ownership, founding Caltex Capital Group. And what we go out and do is help investors build long-term wealth through strategic multifamily investments.
Wonderful. That's great to understand, not only for you personally, but also other business owners. So often at ActionCOACH, we're advising business owners to be looking to the future when they can be investing, not just in their business itself, but also building that family wealth. So it sounds like you're ahead of the game with that. I'm very curious about the name, though, Luis. Can you tell me where Caltex comes from?
Sure thing. So as I mentioned, I was doing brokerage up to 2019. Between 2017 and 2019, I was coming across tons of investors and a lot of repeat clients. One of those clients and partner today, a friend, is my partner out of California, Ryan Ketchum. He helps us tremendously. He's a structural engineer, has done, I think, a couple billion with Caltrans, California's TxDOT, or Texas Department of Transportation. So really knowledgeable on that side of the ball, I guess you could say, when it comes to dealing with contractors, construction management. He's our go-to at Caltex and leads that front. So needless to say, he had a really good book of business established out in California. I had the same here in Texas, being a broker. So we said, hey, I like the way that you do business. He does like the way that we were working here, as far as with me being a broker, presenting him solid opportunities, having a good pulse on the market. He said, let's go ahead and make something that we could bring both of our investor networks together, bring our books of businesses together, and hence the name Caltex, California and Texas Capital Group. California being my partner Ryan, Texas me, myself.
So it sounds like the Cal is Ryan, the Tex is Luis.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. At the end of the day, teamwork makes the dream work. So I'm a firm believer that, see, by yourself, solo, you can go far, but together you could go further. So
Wonderful. So I'm curious too, Luis, can you tell us about your particular role? What is Luis's day-to-day?
Yes, sir. So my role as the founder and principal of Caltex Capital Group is primarily going to be on the acquisition and asset management and also investor relations. So bringing in new business and maintaining that the existing portfolio is following the business plan that we had set out per property or per venture that we had initially done. So I lead the sourcing, underwriting of deals to ensure that we're acquiring solid opportunities, not just properties, but also debt opportunities for investors. They have to meet strict financial criteria. So we're all about quality over quantity. executing on what we had set out to do. But essentially, we want to, under promise and over deliver.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you made, and what did you learn from them?
Sure thing. One of the biggest mistakes earlier in my career, especially being the operator side, coming from the broker side, you're wanting to push as much as you can as far as on the expenses, trying to minimize them, right? So I kind of had that same approach when I started underwriting. So underestimating the importance of operational efficiencies in property management. I assume acquiring a great property with that was the hardest part, but I quickly learned execution is everything. So the right property management, cost control, revenue optimization can make or break an investment. So now I factor in and I focus on partnering with experienced operators, implementing strict asset management oversight. That way we're making sure that we're maximizing the NOI for our investors, for the net operating income for our investors, just trying to squeeze as much juice as we can out of these investment opportunities. So there's going to be different things that are going to impact your business plan that are out of your control. When we took over our Divine property, we did have that mindset we could run it a little bit lighter. And the previous owner, great guy, but did left a lot of deferred maintenance. So when we took over, we did have a increased repair and maintenance expense compared to the previous owner, but we should have increased it accounting for the deferred maintenance. So what did we do in 2022? We rolled up our sleeves, attacked it head on, cured all the deferred maintenance year one. Thereafter, our repairs and maintenance has been even less than what our projections have been, because we set out from the get-go to fix what needed to be done. Structuring the business plan so well that, if something does come along, we're able to not only, take it and weather it, but we're able to, exceed it and push through it and make sure that it's not going to interrupt the overall operations of the property. And at the end of the day, jeopardize our investors' capital.
Mm-hmm. That's great. You mentioned several things that we try to inform business owners about. So many times I'm working with business owners that don't have the financial acumen that you have, and just realizing that the language of business is numbers, and getting them to at least understand the different line items, as you've just talked about, being able to look at the P&L statement, having a good understanding of your cash flow and of your income, and even what that balance sheet is telling you. So oftentimes you may overfocus on certain lines where you're trying to reduce some expense to the detriment of the future of different things like that. So obviously understanding what is a good return on your investment for things like maintenance, where you may not have the additional costs later when things go awry because you didn't take care of them when you could have. And it's so important for business owners to recognize that, even in their own business, let alone in investments that they may rely on you to increase their wealth and their growth on.
We want to make sure that we're mitigating as much risk as possible, because as mentioned, we can't guarantee returns, but what we can guarantee is, like I said, the due diligence that we're going about as far as to execute on what we're setting out to go ahead and do in the offering that we're presenting to our investors. So, but even with the line items, you want to make sure that you're putting a good buffer, but you even go above that to make sure that we have, in addition to those line items being well funded.
So, Luis, I've asked you to look into the past. Tell us about mistakes that you made, and you've listed some of those. Now let's look to the future. What are your aspirations for Caltex when you look into the future? Let's say 5 years. What will it look like in 5 years if all your hopes and dreams come true?
Yes, sir. So in the next 5 years, I would say my goal is to grow the portfolio to over $500 million in assets under management. Right now, we're currently at $140 million of AUM, spread across 700 units throughout Texas, as well as our debt investments. So essentially, we want to continue to expand our investor network. We know that we'll get bigger by bringing in more investors and more professionals, more family, more friends. The only way to grow on that is, as what we've been saying on this conversation, is to execute, to make sure that we're putting our investors first. So we want to expand our investor network. That way, as we expand, they're expanding their wealth as well. Additionally, I do plan to create educational content and resources to help more people understand the power of real estate investing. Coming from the background of being a broker and whatnot, you would be surprised, how many real estate agents, brokers, commercial, residential, that they're rock stars in what they do. But when you ask them, do you invest or do you own other additional property outside your primary residence?
The way that you're able to passively invest by partnering with sponsors like Caltex, there's different other sponsors out there, like Caltex, that they're the lead GP, they're your sponsors, they're the ones that are going to be handling the day-to-day operations of the asset. Because a lot of people think, oh, you're just collecting rents and leasing out an apartment. That's easy. It's really not. It's its own full-time business. You have to be managing contractors, your property manager, maintenance staff, cleaning crews, your asset manager. It's its own beast. And when people think that, well, I have a great income from my business or my job, I'm a high income earner, I could just leverage that and go buy a duplex. Well, I mean, you're already working 60 plus hours, managing your own business or your own career. That when are you going to have time to honestly devote it to negotiating with a contractor or getting that call on Christmas Eve and saying, hey, my water heater just blew out and I got water all over my living room. I need somebody here now, or I'm not going to pay rent on January 1st. Those are the things that, it's not the pretty side of real estate. Everybody thinks collecting the checks and seeing the accounts grow is fun, but there's also the ugly side. And that's where partnering with sponsors like Caltex, we take that ugliness outside of it. So what are you seeing? Nothing but essentially after the part of you doing the due diligence. That's the only upfront work I say that you have to do is your due diligence and not only vetting the deal, but vetting the sponsor. Because there's a bunch of sponsors out there, but we're not cut from the same cloth. So I definitely recommend, I tell my investors, go out there and network with as many sponsors as you can, vet as many sponsors as you can, and vet as many deals as you can. Because just because a deal looks good, it might have a great presentation, the numbers might look good, the operator might not be strong. So the old saying goes, bet on the jockey, not the horse. Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm curious, Luis, you mentioned educational content. What form would that take?
So currently what I'm doing, and daily, I've been doing it about since the start of quarter four of 2024, is posting consistently Monday through Sunday on LinkedIn. And I started to dabble a little bit and cross over into Facebook, but consistently posting on LinkedIn, not just about the vehicle, but the purpose behind investing in these vehicles. So I post a lot about my son, Maximiliano. He's 5 years old. Investing, it's great. You make money, you get returns. But the thing that I'm a great, advocate on is, wealth building, legacy, but it's purchasing time freedom back. You're getting time back that you previously didn't have. And it's not necessarily saying you need to invest so you could replace your current job or your business, replace your income. No, not at all. It's to give you that opportunity to say, I'm not reliant on a single income source. I diversified, I leveraged my high income to invest so I can have multiple streams of income coming in. Just general awareness is going to get not only a lot more business for the Caltex, but also it's going to benefit our investors and our community as a whole. Because the more capital that we could deploy, the more communities that we could go out, renovate, and honestly help bring the quality of living for our residents and improve an area too. So that's where I think what we're doing has a greater social impact than just saying my money's in the stock market. No, your money's hard at work, getting you good returns, but at the same time you're having a social impact that you're bringing your communities. And a lot of communities you're in Texas that we invest in are in our backyard in Texas. So we're out here helping hardworking Texans, making sure that they just don't have a place that they're a unit number. We call them residents. We call them apartment homes that they go home, and it's not places they go to sleep and they go back to work the next day. It's a place that they could go home and feel happy to call it home, that they could have friends, family, life events, celebrations, that it's going to be revolving around that type of lifestyle. So that's what we go out and set out to do. Consistently posting on LinkedIn, consistently posting on Facebook. And you better believe it, I will be more active on educational interviews, podcasts like this, as well as on YouTube. So currently working with USCOT right now to get podcasts going up and running. The next thing is going to be doing more consistent YouTube educational videos for our investor network. Because
Luis, I heard you talk about freedom. And at Action Coach, we try to motivate people to understand that success in their business and success in their wealth can provide that freedom for the very types of things that are very important that you just mentioned, of being able to spend time with family, being able to actually not be tied to a certain number of hours that they are working the business or working in the behind the scenes types of things. Another thing you mentioned that I thought was interesting was all of the activities involved in investing in real estate that people might not recognize at first. They may not have time to do the very things that you are able to take care of for them if they'll invest in that real estate through you. A lot of things are behind the curtain, and we don't see those behind the curtain things at first when we might invest in something like real estate, until now we have to go behind the curtain and we have to be the one answering that midnight call or that one taking care of things when we don't have time to take care of them. And I just hear, as much as we advise people to be investing in their family wealth plan as their business is more successful, I'm hearing you say you give them a means of doing that without eating up so much of their time that they're no longer able to concentrate on what they're good at and what they enjoy, and that might be their business. You've mentioned several times your son, and I can tell even from other conversations you and I have had about enjoying his t-ball and being able to coach his team and different things like that, the importance of family in your life. And I want to emphasize that to our business owner audience as well. Don't ignore the things that are fleeting in your family, the time that is going by. Spending time with children, grandchildren, being able to actually be with those that you love is so important, and you need to set aside. Don't spend all of your time in your business and ignore the things that are very lasting in your family relationships.
Oh, absolutely. And then coming back to it, that's essentially my biggest why. I'm a big believer of leading with your why, because when the going gets tough, and as business owners, you're an entrepreneur. Nothing's guaranteed as far as the success, but the determination, the persistence and the confidence that you have to go after your goals and your dreams. So if you don't have a solid why backing those to motivate you to get up every day, today you might not make a check, or today you might get a rejection. But it's consistency. It's consistency in approaching it every single day.
When you think about success, Luis, who's the first person you think of and why?
So when I do think of success, especially as what we do, I think of Sam Zell. Sam Zell, he was also known as the Great Dancer, as well as Warren Buffett. But let's come back with Sam. He was a master of identifying undervalued real estate opportunities. So similar kind of my approach in finding underperforming opportunities, conservatively underwriting them and saying, hey, we could do better than the previous operator can do, and these are the type of returns that we'll go ahead and achieve. But him taking the contrarian approach to investing, executing on deals with precision, just as mentioned, focusing on the fundamentals, not chasing trends. His ability to see potential where others saw risk aligns closely with our philosophy here at Caltex.
Luis, what differentiates your organization from others in your industry?
That is a very good question. So what makes us stand out is just the way that we lead our approach. It's all investor focused, investor first. Unlike a couple other firms out there, we prioritize investor returns by structuring our deals with components or structures in mind with preferred rate of returns, profit sharing models. This ensures that our investors are getting paid first before we get to get participation in the profits. Additionally, we focus exclusively on the Texas market, leveraging my deep local expertise to find off-market deals and reposition the assets to maximize the value. In addition to that, what do our investors invest in? They're obviously investing in the properties, but they're investing in the sponsors themselves, not just our knowledge, but the relationships that we do have. What further sets us apart is also my background as a licensed real estate broker here in Texas, which gives me an edge in sourcing, negotiating, structuring acquisitions. Prior to founding Caltex, I built a strong foundation in commercial real estate, ranging from brokers, property managers, lenders. That way, it's giving us a great, I would say, presence that we can have good offerings coming to us, as well as good investment advisory and market analysis that we are able to leverage, because we're so confident as far as our ability to not only execute, but as far as our approach, that we lead with putting our investors first, that we lead with stuff that we've touched on a couple of times already. Our big why, our motivation is our family. So we're making sure that we're leading, that we're going to be here for the long haul, taking care of our investors, taking care of ourselves, nurturing Caltex, because we want to make sure we're building a legacy with our investors that in 20 years, they're going to be asking us, hey, you know what? Investing with you on your Houston properties or in your debt fund back in 2023, 24, 25, was the best decision I made.
Mhm.
So that's what differentiates ourselves from the other organizations.
Luis, if you could do it all over, what would you do differently?
Sure. So if I could do it all over, I would have scaled into multifamily investing sooner. Instead of spending as so many years as I did in the residential sales, the ability to own multiple doors under one roof, leverage economies of scales, create a passive income is what makes multifamily one of the best investment strategies out there. In addition, I know we touched on it, also the community impact, the social impact. You're not just making a good return for yourself and our investors, but we're also improving the quality of life, the living standards for our residents. So when they're happy, our investors are happy, our residents are happy, they're paying on time, our collections are happy, and in turn, our distributions make our investors happy. So that's the way that we approach it. But as mentioned, getting into it as early as I can would have started with being as knowledgeable as I can. So starting over, I would have educated myself as much as I can in the over, just continuously being in that growth mindset. I would have done that a lot sooner and educating myself in the overall real estate industry as a whole.
Great. Luis, I feel like we're nearing the end of our podcast, and I want to also ask you, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, how should they do that?
Good question. So you can look me up on our website, caltexcapitalgroup.com, CALTEX capitalgroup.com, as well as just looking my name up, Luis Frias, on LinkedIn. You'll be able to find me.
Great, Luis. We will put that very information in the show notes for this podcast, so anyone watching or listening can get in touch with you.
Excellent. No, I appreciate it, Scott.
Great. Luis, thank you for sharing your story. This has been very interesting, and I hope that the audience finds it informative and valuable. I'm sure they will. This is the Business Spotlight Series with Scott Lawson from ActionCOACH of Coastal Bend and Luis Frias of Caltex Capital Group and Keller Williams. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to see great content. Thank you for watching and listening today. Bye for now.